Hello pilots and ground crew, welcome back to my channel again. Right, well, first of all, right, so there's no misunderstandings, this video is for new pilots, right? If you've been flying a bit, you'll know every single thing I'm about to say, so don't bother watching it, right? Go watch something else. Right, this is for brand new pilots, like I make a lot of videos for new pilots to help them out. Now, I've received quite a few emails over the last couple of months or so with a lot of little questions about things, and a lot of them you can just type in straight away, give them the answer and you're off. But I've been stockpiling, for want of a better word, and I thought I'll put them all together in one little video, even though the particular people who sent me the emails, they hadn't had to wait weeks and weeks. I answered the email straight away, if you know what I mean. But I thought the questions, because they're for like brand new pilots, I thought I'll put it all together in like a little group, like a little group of Q&As, and basically answer all the questions. So if there's any more new pilots out there, which I know there's a lot of you out there because there's people getting into this hobby, right, it'll be all there in one place. Well, this batch of mail call. Right, now one of the most common questions, and I reckon everybody who's been flying a while, sooner or later a new pilot asks this: how do I get better at flying? Right, and oh, excuse me, everybody says the same thing: practice. Either practicing simulators, going out practicing a lot. Joshua Bardwell, he said he was doing his 3 packs a day. He was flying 3 packs every single day, and you could see the improvement. And that's all it is: practice, practice, practice. But there is something else you can actually do, right? Which I haven't heard anybody else, exclusive, world exclusive coming from me, right? Which I haven't heard anybody else mention. Right, when you're first learning to fly and you're practicing, you might have got the basics down, but then you want to get a bit more experience. The very first thing you should do, and I ain't got one handed to show you, is don't record your flights. Right, take your HD camera off. Right, yeah, you might want to record your flights for YouTube and stuff like that and everything. If you're lucky enough to have a few batteries, fly your first 3 or 4 packs with no recording camera, because you'll find yourself as you're flying, and we all do it, you're flying along and you're looking, oh, it'll look good if I swoop down there, or oh, that'll look good if I dive down there, and oh, if I do a roll now between them, you know what I mean? You're not thinking about flying, you're constantly thinking about what's going to look good on YouTube, right? Which is fine, I suppose, if you've been flying a long time, right? But if you're a new pilot, what this video is for, take your recording camera off, whatever it is you're using, whether it be a GoPro, a Runcat, whatever it is you're using. Don't record your flight thinking I'll put this on YouTube when you're learning, right? Get a bit of experience, because your brain, when you're flying and you know you're flying for fun, your brain relaxes a bit more, and you concentrate on what you're doing and you're practicing on what you're doing. Like if you wanted to learn a new trick, you wouldn't necessarily record yourself crashing 50 times and put it on YouTube. No, you're not going to do that, because you don't, it's something you wouldn't do. You'd practice your trick usually on a simulator, right, and then out at the field. But yeah, so a good tip, right, for new pilots who's trying to get used to flying is don't worry about recording your flights. Learn all the basics first before you start recording your flights. If you want to, right, feel free, ignore me. But the question was, how do I get better at flying? Well, if you're just thinking about flying and nothing else, you will improve. Okay, well, that's my opinion. Right then, moving on. Oh, I should have wrote these down. I've got a list here of the emails. I'm looking at it now, and the emails I got, but I didn't put the names of the persons. I've got like can't get my words out. How do I learn to fly better? And then underneath, longer flights. But I didn't put who the emails were by. But it don't matter. I've already answered their questions via email anyway. Right, something else, and I've just mentioned it because I read it. I got this one email saying, you've seen them, what was it? I can't remember the name, them iFlight, them 4-inch, not necessarily long range, but for longer flight time, about 20 odd minutes. There's quite a few, but GEPRC's just got one out as well. There's quite a few quads coming out now for long flight times, like 20, 30 minutes or whatever. You know what I'm talking about. You would have probably seen them. Well, this email I received was, how do I get longer flight times without spending, say, £200 or £300 on one of these quads? Well, or spending any money, basically. Right, because the guy actually said, I've got new motors, so I don't want to buy different motors, and he didn't want to spend any money. Now, the easiest way to get longer flight times, right, there's two things you can do. The first thing you can do is your FPV camera, right. Now remember, this is for just flying about, cruising and getting longer flight times. Your FPV camera, tilt it down so it's like parallel with the frame. Okay, so lose your camera tilt. That's the first thing you do. And the next thing you do, 9 times out of 10, because almost everybody is now, you'll be using 3-bladed props. Get rid of them, right, and put 2-bladed props on, and your flight time will get longer. Okay, but this is how to get air longer. You're not going to get 20 or 30 minutes, not with using your same battery, your same motors, your same flight control, your same everything. Right? You're not going to all of a sudden turn your quad into a long flight. I wish I could remember the name of that, this iFlight whatever, you know what I mean, or the GEPRC 4-inch, I can't remember the name of that one either, but there's a few. There you go. Editing, it's a miracle. Yeah, but yeah, you're not all of a sudden, but you will see an increase in flight time if you swap to 2-bladed props. Right, if you just want to do them nice long flights, I don't know, down the coast, around the trees, whatever, swap to 2-bladed props. You're still able to do loops and rolls if you want, but that is something else. Avoid your loops and your rolls, right, because they use up battery power. Every time you do a loop and a roll, your battery is pulling more amps, so it's using more battery power. So nice steady flights, drop your camera angle, which I've said, so if you've got a 35 degree, drop it to vertical and use a 2-bladed prop, and that will give you longer flight times. Let's just assume you're normally getting, say, a 3-minute flight time on your battery. Doing that should push it to, I would say, about 4 minutes, which doesn't sound much. An extra minute you might get more. But that's the way, the basic way to get longer flight times, where you're not really spending any money apart from a set of props. Right, if you really want to get your long flight times, then you have to invest in the right motors, the right stuff, you have to start spending money, and that's why these long flight time quads are already out on the market and people are buying them. But if you just want to increase your flight time, that's what to do. Lay off the rolls and the flips, level out your camera, switch to 2-bladed props. There you go. And I suppose, which wasn't mentioned, but it's something I've mentioned in the past, people who want to go faster, right, switch to 3-bladed props, right, and your camera angle, tilt it right up, and you will automatically go faster. You will start to go a lot faster just by tilting your camera up, because you have to push on your throttle to get your quad going before you can see forward. If you've got your camera pointing straight up like that, if your camera's like that, your quad has to be there before the camera is level, you know what I mean? So your camera's pointing to the sky, so you have to power your quad up to get the camera level, and at that position your quad is blasting through the sky, so that will make it go faster. Even though that wasn't a question I was asked, but I just thought I'd stick that one in too. Alright, where are we? VBAT, yeah. I tell you what, I've had quite a few comments about this, right? But it's a new pilot thing. There's a lot of terminology kicking about, right? But the email I got, basically, it was a straightforward one. I ain't got it up on screen, but I can remember it. Basically, it said, George, what's VBAT? When people talk about VBAT, what is it? Well, all it is, it's your battery voltage. When you connecting everything up, your camera, for argument's sake, you've got your box, your camera box, and it'll say, and it'll be printed on your camera as well, but it might say 7 volts to, I don't know, 14 volts, whatever. Right? Well, your VBAT is your battery voltage, what your battery does. So if you've got a 14 volt battery and your camera is 14 volts, then you can solder your camera, well, not to this cable, but you can solder your camera straight to your battery cable on the inside, right, for battery voltage. And that's all it is. It's just battery voltage, right? If you've got a 5 volt camera, maximum 5 volts, you can't solder it to your VBAT, your battery voltage, because it'll blow it, right? Because your VBAT, B-A-T, VBAT is your battery voltage. So if you've got a, we'll say 14 again, a 1400 milliamp LiPo with I'm making it complicated now. I'm just gonna forget all that, go back to what I said. It's your battery voltage. So the thing you're soldering on, whether it be VTX, your camera, whatever, if it'll run on the same battery voltage as your battery, you can solder the wires straight up to the battery connector board, right, which is your VBAT, which is your battery voltage. Oh, and I'm leaving it there because I'm starting to waffle a bit, getting technical. I was also asked modes. This was in a comment. Alright, just remember that, modes. I can't remember word for word, but this guy wanted to know what's the difference between mode 1 and mode 2. Well, I made an entire video about mode 1, mode 2, mode 3 and mode 4, showing you all the difference. All it means, it don't make any difference to your flying, so to speak. The most common is mode 2, right, but a lot of people still fly in mode 1. I learned to fly in mode 4. Right, that's how I learned to fly in mode 4 years ago. Years ago. I don't think there was a mode 2 back then. Thinking about it, all them years ago, I don't think there was a mode 2. But yeah, all it means is, for argument's sake, in mode 2 your throttle stick is on the left, right, and in mode 1 your throttle stick's on the right, and in mode 3 I think your throttle stick's on the left, but yeah, your stick is on the right. It basically, it just means what your sticks will do. It's nothing really to do with flying or anything like that. It's just a case of what your sticks will do. But if you're interested, the most common is mode 2. And if you're buying something like a ready to fly quad, 9 times out of 10 it's going to arrive in mode 2. So if you're brand new and you've never picked up a transmitter in your life, try and start off in mode 2. It's the most popular, and it's the it's like I said, it's what most quads and everything that comes will be in mode 2. And these ready to fly planes, where you get the little transmitters and stuff, or ready to fly helicopters, they nearly always come in, oh excuse me, they nearly always arrive in mode 2 setup, and that's all that is. It's just stick movement. Right, oh, last one. This was a weird one because it took me ages to respond to the email. Right, which LiPo should I use? Right, well, it's not a case of bigger is better. It all depends on what motors you're using, what ESCs you're using. Right, even to what flight when you buy a part, we'll say motors, when you buy a motor, any motor, right, you'll see in the description of the motor, right, I'll put some up if I remember, but you'll see in the description of the motor it will say 2 to 4S, right, or 4 to 6S, and that's telling you that's the maximum on your battery. So if you've got a motor that says 2 to 4S, you can't put a 6-cell LiPo on it. You could, but don't. Right, and it's the same with things like your ESCs. You'll find your ESCs are rated like 4 to 6S, 2 to 4S and things like that. So which battery do you buy? First of all, you make sure you've got the right cell count for the right battery. Right, right cell count for the right battery, the right cell count on the battery for your parts. That's on your quad, your parts. You have to make sure you've got the right cell size battery. And usually it will say something like, I don't know, 650 milliamp to 1000 milliamp for argument's sake. And that's telling you that there's your guidelines. Then you go shopping, right, and find the cheapest or the best, whichever you want to do. Right, between 4 and 6S, 650 milliamp to 1000 milliamp, and you try and stick in a lot of, well, I won't say a lot, occasionally we'll say, a new pilot will think, well, if I put a great big honking battery, I'll get loads of flight time, right, and it'll be brilliant. Well, one, you have to think a great big honking battery weighs a ton, so that's more weight, right, more work your propellers are having to do, which means more work your motors are having to do, which means more work your ESCs are having to do, and that's where you get burnouts. That's where everything blows, goes bang. Right. Plus, all that extra weight, even if it doesn't go bang, because of all that extra energy it's pulling from the battery just to get it into the air, because you've got a great big honking battery on there, well, you'll end up having less flight time. Alright? So getting the right size battery is important, but I can't tell anybody what size. I can recommend batteries for 5-inch quads, I can recommend batteries for 4-inch quads and things like that, but you see, I could say, right, this quad here use 650 milliamp, blah 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 blah, if you build one this size is 3-inch. But what happens if the person who built it, their motors are only 2 to 3S, and I've just told you to put a 4S 650, you're gonna knacker your motors up. So it's a case of when you buy your motors, when you buy your parts, before you buy your battery, don't buy your battery first, never buy your battery first. Just read and make notes, right, of, oh, the motors can go up to 4S. The ESCs can go up to 6S or whatever, and then from that you'll know you can get a motor that a battery that will fit and suit and keep the motors and everything happy. Okay, that's basically the best I can do to explain that. There is one last thing, alright, because I've got it here. I was asked, do you use Loctite? And if you do, what type do you use? Well, yes, first of all, I use Loctite, and I only ever use blue. And I advise you, never ever use red Loctite. Red Loctite is designed to be locked on and left. It's for a part that you are never ever going to unscrew. If we had motors that never bent out, never got bent, never broke, never anything, was perfect for their entire lives, then you could use red Loctite on all of them. But that doesn't happen. There's not a single part of this quad that hasn't been took to pieces, replaced, stripped down, swapped around, like all your quads. Right? Blue Loctite, well, is the best you can use. Right, and if you don't know what Loctite is, being a new pilot, it's, for want of a better word, a super glue for your nuts and bolts, right, which as you tighten them up it locks them down really tight, grips your nuts and bolts, but when you need to unscrew them, bit of force and they'll come off. But with red Loctite, I used red Loctite on my heli, on a part of my heli that I knew I would never have to change out. Well, you've guessed it. Big accident, big crash, I had to change it out, and I actually had to get my soldering iron on the nut and heat up the nut to melt the Loctite before I could get the nut out, and it was an absolute nightmare. Right, but you should only really be using blue Loctite. You never want to use red Loctite. Okay then, that's my emails read and done. So I'll leave it there. As I've said a million times before, if you've ever got any questions, feel free to ask, like these people did. And hope this helps your new pilots out there. And well, can't think of what else, so I'll say cheers.